Well, it's a warm welcome back to a gentleman who's been on rock.com in the past, and it's none other than Mr. Keith Slack, who is back to talk about his brand new project, which is absolutely fantastic, and that is Jet Set Royales. Keith, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Dan. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. It's going extra well today, playing the album yet again. Thanks ever so much for sending it over in advance. Obviously, I heard the rough mixes, which already sort of whetted my appetite, so to speak. But obviously now we've got, finally, the finished product.
Yes, they're pressing it somewhere. Somewhere right now there's some elves that are chiseling song titles into a piece of plastic.
So what brought about Jet Set Royales? What made you decide to go down this route and sort of start a new project, so to speak, really?
Well, actually, it's not really a new project, so to speak. Gerard and I have been, Gerard Garcia, the guitar player, and I have been friends for, God, man, how many years? Many years. And I was actually introduced to Gerard by Blas Elias from Slaughter back in the day when we all lived in Houston, Texas. And Gerard and I have not only been close friends, but we've worked on music intermittently throughout the years. And it just got to a point where he had time and I had time, and all the stars lined up and all that kind of good bullshit. And we decided to make a record. And even though our intentions were to use the stockpile of songs that we have, which God almighty, hundreds, we pushed that aside and wrote mostly all new songs. I think we've got maybe one older song from the collection, and then all the rest of them are new tunes. And I got his butt out here from L.A. We flew him out here, and we have an investor from Seattle who's helped us out with the whole process, and we're all older and hard-headed, so we decided to do it all ourselves. Little did we know that we would end up insane at the end of the process.
Well, I mean, let's face it, it's to actually release a physical product now is, I mean, you're already building yourself numerous obstacles before you've even actually sent it off to the pressing plant.
Oh, man, tell me about it. It's ridiculous. It's like trying to modify a sports car, and you're sitting there trying to figure out how to build a frame. So it's really starting from the ground up. And if it wasn't for people like, if it wasn't for Mike Slamer back in the day, teaching me how to do this and record and engineer, I mean, I would be just as clueless as most musicians I know.
I mean, listen to the album. I mean, it is different to stuff you've done in the past. There are so many influences thrown into this, because there are so many differences to the tracks. Obviously, for those of you who listen to this who are not familiar to Keith, and shame on you for that, obviously, we could go back to obviously the Steelhouse Lane days, etc. But with this album, there are differences in the genre, if that makes sense. Then it's not just all hard rock, or it's not just all melodic rock. Right.
No, you're absolutely right, and it's not something that was done out of intention. It's like I said, Gerard and I have been working on music for a long time, and we all have different interests and influences. I mean, he listens to a lot of Coldplay, Radiohead, and I listen to a lot of freaky stuff, folk music, and blues, and a lot of different stuff too. So I think that for us, for me at least, I'm more of a product of my environment.
Right.
And I really, really get into all music. And if you were to give me a song, I take on the part, and it's not a matter of being loyal to a certain genre. It's
nope.
Being a real fucking musician, man. I think if you're an artist, then that's what you do. You create art. And if you paint with one freaking color all the time, how boring is that, man? So whether it's rock or country or fucking ska, I mean, do it right and have fun doing it. And this is just it's just another chapter, man, and what we love to do. And yeah, it's different, and I just hope people listen to it with an open mind and get into it and have as much fun listening to it as we did making it, you know. And it's not Stillhouse Lane and that stuff, you know. I mean, that was great music, and for its time and the time that it happened,
yeah,
you know, it was good shit, man, and it still is. But we're in a different chapter of our lives, and we're testing the walls and testing the boundaries and having fun, man. If we didn't enjoy what we were doing, we would have thrown this shit down a long time ago. And I can't worry too much about what people think and the Michael Shane fans and the Stillhouse Lane fans and the Mother Road fans. You just have to do what you do, man. You can't worry about everybody else. You got to. I know it sounds selfish, but you got to please yourself first.
No,
and,
I don't think it's selfish at all. I mean, putting my pennyworth in, so to speak, as I've said on a bored people shitless saying it on 1,000,001 occasions. For me, personally, there's only two types of music. There's music I like and music I don't. And what I like about this album is the fact it's not like so many other releases that are out there at the moment. And it's another thing I've banged on about a lot. You know, it's the close your eyes and hang on, which band was this one again? Because it sounds like the 14 other ones I've heard this week. Where this one, you know, you need a track that's going to sort of wake you up and go, oh, hang on a sec, this is a bit different, and you actually listen to it.
Right. I think for Gerard and I both, our time spent in L.A., I lived in L.A. for 8 years. And
right.
Blah, blah, blah. I think really paying attention to how the music business works and watching the mistakes made by other people who are not maybe so sincere about music and worried about how we're going to make a living. And I understand, man. You know, everybody wants to be able to feed themselves and their families, but at the same time, when you jump on that, I call it the pie of popularity, when you jump on that fresh piece of pie that everybody's raving about and jumping up and down, you have a limited amount of time before the maggots set in.
Gotcha.
And we're on to the next piece of pie. And it's just a circular pie of shit that keeps turning around, and everyone's jumping to the next piece until eventually you get back to square one and somehow it's rejuvenated itself. You know? So there's only a limited amount of time and people that benefit from a certain genre before the populace, the listeners, get sick of that crap. You know, it's just like country music today. That shit is like what Poison did to heavy rock in the late '80s. It got to a point to where it's so homogenized and commercialized that people are not buying it, man. It's not real. It's just a corporate bunch of bullshit, man. It's corporate crap. That's what it is. And we all know corporate killed the artist.
Yeah. Well, as you said, you know, if you don't enjoy doing it, then either A, what's the point, or B, it's going to have a real detrimental effect on the end product.
Yes, it will. And when you start using that analytical mind in music, and you're so worried about how this part goes and how this resolves into this, and this chorus needs to be this, and you start to think with formulas instead of feeling, then it's just a pile of shit anyway, in my opinion. You know, I don't know. There's certain bands that did that, and you know, it's cool and all, but unfortunately, the rest of them weren't that genius. You know, I've worked with people like Slamer and those guys who, it's almost like they know what the song needs to do, and they're so experienced and educated with arrangements that they can make the shit happen in 10 minutes, to whereas somebody who doesn't know, that's sitting there trying to emulate that and overproduce it, is going to spend days, weeks, and months and still come out with a pile of crap.
No, you're absolutely right. You know, it's funny. When I was when I interviewed George Lynch again recently regarding obviously his KXM project, because they don't write anything. They go into the studio and basically just jam and hit the record button. And he doesn't care whether anybody likes it at the end or not. And again, it's not arrogant and selfish. He's just interested in the music itself.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I'm coming from. And if we would have had the luxury and the time, that's exactly what we would have done. We would have went to a good jam place and just done the pre-production, jammed out. We probably would have a complete different set of songs. Because in my opinion, that's the way to do it. You know, if you want to really capture the energy and, you know, the energy and the fun aspects of music, if we would have been able to crank up a few thousand watts of amplifiers and, you know, and blasted vocals through it, it just gives it a good vibe, and it would have been different. But he's on the right track, man. That's what I'm trying to say too. It's not a matter of selfishness. It's a matter of, hey man, I've got to live with this, and I want to enjoy it. I don't want to create something that I go back and can't stand to listen to, man. You know?
Absolutely.
If you're doing that, man, you're just making a whole bunch of coasters.
Well, I think when it comes to,
there's no future in that. And there's my new quote for the day. There's no future in that shit.
One thing that's always interested me when it comes to a lot of bands that have put albums together now is obviously the way that people are split up and not all living, within spitting distance of each other, is how a lot of it's all done over the interweb and sending tracks to each other. From your mindset, do you think that has a detrimental effect on an album? I mean, I can certainly tell on certain releases where rather than a band just playing together, you know, the old way it was done in a room, hit the record button, and off we go.
Yeah, I do. I do. And at least the good part of this band is that, like I said, I was able to get Gerard here from L.A., and we spent a lot of time here and worked on the songs. And the bass player lives in Dallas, so he was here, and we kidnapped him from his job and made him stay here and have fun and work on this stuff. It makes a huge difference. When I worked on the Mother Road stuff, that was always seemed to be a problem. That and the language barrier of me not understanding German too well, except for the curse words. The problem with that is you got Chris with the studio, and then myself working here with the studio, and trying to translate different parts and explain why this part doesn't work and that one does, and then you get back what he did, and it's not what you want, and it's a big pain in the ass, and you can come out with a real sterile project if you're not careful. All of these file exchanges, it loses the magic, I think, in my opinion, for what it's worth.
Well, no, I'll say it is something. You know, I'm no musician. You know, I mean, who's to say that my ears are qualified to listen to stuff properly? But
you like what you listen to, and that's what counts, man.
Yeah, I do. I have heard on certain releases, as I said, there is a definite difference. Thankfully, as I said, not on the Jet Set Royale stuff. So, considering you're saying how many tracks you have written, are you ever considering releasing other stuff under maybe a different name or under the same name, or are you just going to sit on that big pile?
That's a good question, because every time we talk about getting to the big pile, we write new stuff. So, I mean, I would rather write new stuff than fuck with a bunch of old shit anyway. It's all good, mind you, and there's some stuff that just you think, oh God, we got to get that shit out there. That's incredible. But at the same time, I like creating new stuff. So I don't know if that'll happen or not. We'll just keep going with what works and having a good time. As long as we're having a good time, that's all that matters.
Absolutely, and obviously, you know, as you know, everybody gets older, you know, tastes, influences, whatever, change anyway.
Yeah, it's like you know, Gerard used to be the freaking greatest guitar player in the area, you know, in Texas, as far as I'm concerned. Back in the day when I worked with him, and he did all of the Vinnie Moore type stuff and amazing shit. And now I can't pry a guitar solo out of that guy with a pair of channel locks. You know, he's just, and I get it, you know, it's all about the song. He's like, man, nobody wants to hear all that freaking drowning turkeys noise, you know. It's just like drowning a bunch of turkeys, man. That shit gets old. Who cares? So you can do that. Who cares? What's the song?
Yeah,
what is the song about, man? Does it hit me? Does it raise the arm hairs?
You can get too much in a bit of guitar wanking, really, and it does. Yeah, at a point of view, it's almost like they're halfway through the track and forget where they were.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say that I sit at home with the guitar and I drown the turkeys too, but I don't want to record that shit because I know that most of the people out there don't give a shit. They don't want to listen to that crap, man. You know, it's just I can listen to it for about 5-7 minutes, and then I'm like, next. You know, I guess maybe because I lived through that era. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you just proved again, once again, how old we're getting.
Could be.
Yeah.
I could just be getting older and grumpier.
Join the club.
That could be it too.
It's not an exclusive club by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
The only difference being is as you get older, you've got an excuse for being grumpy. No one gives a shit anymore.
That's exactly right.
Well, Keith, it's pleasure again talking to you as always. Folks, the album will be out very, very shortly indeed. Of course, it is Jet Set Royale's self-titled album, 12 tracks of absolute musical joy and fun. I highly, highly recommend it, and let's face it, I don't ever plug anything unless I like it myself, as everyone knows only too well. I hope that you have a lot of success with this album. I'm just glad that you enjoyed doing it.
Thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate it. I just want to say that in the UK and Europe, it's going to be out on Lion's Pride Music through Carson's label, and then it'll be online as well as physical sales through a few different outlets in the US, including, I'm sure, Amazon and CD Baby and all those retail establishments. And I hope you guys get out and buy you a copy and rock the shit out of it.
Keith, thanks ever so much indeed, mate.
Thank you, Dan. You have a good one, bro.
Cheers.
Cheers.